Tipp today, in association with Slattery's of Pecan, your main Peugeot dealer for over 50 years in the Premier County. Slattery'sGarage.ie.
Good morning and welcome into Tipp Today on Thursday. It's clearly not Fran Curry today. It's Donald Doyle sitting in for him. It's my first time in this studio and on this desk and on this show. So when things might and do go wrong, please be gentle with me and patient. And if we press the wrong button, we'll recover it fairly quickly. So coming up on this morning's show, Cllr Michael Chicken Brennan will be joining us live in studio in just a few moments, but we have a little bit of housekeeping to get through first. Later on, Tom Hennessy will be urging the public to help save free parking in Cllr, and we'll talk about that parking harmonisation in general. We'll be getting a taste of the St. Patrick's Day parades taking place over the next few days. A lot of them, of course, happening this weekend ahead of the big day itself next Tuesday. Former soldier and defence analyst Declan Power will be joining us to look at geopolitics and the state of the world in general at the moment and our place in it. Karen Prendergast will be here for the interiors slot, and Muriel Cudahy will be helping us look at weight loss. All this and much more coming up in the next 3 hours. But first up this morning, this week on Tipp Today, we're giving away a €200 voucher for Mr. Menswear. Whether it's Debs, confirmations, communions, weddings or race day, you'll find the perfect suit, shoes and accessories in store in Cashel or in Cllr, as well as online at mrmister.ie. Now, we are selecting one finalist every day and the winner will be announced tomorrow. If you'd like to enter, you can do it on WhatsApp now to 083 311 3311. You should just put Mr. on your message along with your name and details. Now, as is tradition, we'll have a quick look at the newspapers today and see what we have on the front pages. The main one on most of the pages, of course, is that victorious picture, and it's the same one on a lot of our front pages, of our absolute hero, Ronnie Delaney, our first track and field Olympic gold medalist in Ireland, who's died at the age of 91. Obviously, everyone, I certainly was aware of Ronnie Delaney all through my career, but I wasn't really aware that he was just 21 when he won that gold medal in Melbourne. So commiserations to his family and the wider sporting community in Ireland. That is the passing of an absolute legend. Also on the Irish Times today, Iran is warning the world to prepare for soaring oil prices. We know at this stage that the Iranian tactic is to disrupt the world markets and oil prices, and they're warning that it could go over $200 a barrel for crude oil, which would put the world into a downspin, we suspect. We'll be talking about the cost of living very shortly with Michael Chicken Brennan. The other couple of main stories on the Irish Times: peat exports hitting almost €40 million despite a crackdown. This is a story where Ireland exported nearly 40 million worth of turf and peat last year, despite the fact that there's no known legal commercial peat extraction going on in the country. So where's the difference there? There's also a story that will be obviously of interest to a lot of people across the country today, that floods can cause depression, anxiety and severe stress. Huge psychological impacts apparently. People describe feeling intense fear during floods, and that's followed by worry and hypervigilance afterwards, fear of the next flood, and this is compounded by anger and despair when there's slow recovery and all the clean-up and insurance work that needs to be gone on. And I know from talking to people myself that it's not just a matter of cleaning up. The smell of that dirty water and the impact of it can go on for a long time. Moving on. The other main thing from my point of view, a little hint at the announcement later on of the Ireland rugby team for this weekend. Apparently Tommy O'Brien will be coming back on the left wing for Stockdale when the Ireland team is named by Andy Farrell later on today. So on the Examiner today, this story about Strikers Irish HQ crippled by a wiper hacker attack. We believe that it's Iranian-based hackers attacking an American company. They've already listed American companies like Google and Microsoft who are their targets, but they're doing it in this hybrid warfare way. So Cork has more than 4,000 employees in that company, and a lot of those have had their devices wiped. This isn't a ransomware or anything like that. It's purely to disrupt the company, and that obviously having a big effect down there in Cork. Also, the main story under the picture of Ronnie Delaney is Iran telling us to prepare for oil to hit $200 a barrel. It is expected it could go to 150, all right, and it has dropped below 100, I think, on the latest markets yesterday, but we should see that going up again. They're talking about the new naval service boarding powers will be more challenging in another story, and the Examiner talking about a Cork developer, John Fleming, being back building in Cork after going bankrupt 15 years ago. Now moving on to, I should say, the other little story on the Examiner as well is also featured on the front of the Farmers Journal today. North Cork creameries are said to be on the brink of failure. There's been a lot of toing and froing there with the interim CEO Michael Cronin resigning on Tuesday night, with Stephen Daly being installed on Wednesday yesterday. I believe he had been previously in power there as well. So there's a lot of shifting going on in their board, and I think it's all down to the EPA more or less shutting down the milk plant in Kanturk there, and they're not sure how they're going to continue out of that. So that mentioned in the front of the Farmers Journal as well as the Examiner. The oil surge in oil prices is going to drive up silage costs is the other big headline on the Farmers Journal this week. Obviously, the price of green diesel is going to feed into a lot of farm operations. However, in a slightly mitigating factor, the cost of plastic wrap for silage would be expected to go up. Obviously, it's an offshoot of the petrochemical industry, but apparently a lot of the wrap used in Ireland, are set to be used in Ireland this year, has already been manufactured at the lower prices, so that won't kick in for a little while. The front of the Daily Mail today is sex offenders are working as paramedics. This is a story where apparently a paramedic oversight body, the Pre-Hospital Emergency Care Council, has complained to the HSE and the Health Minister Jennifer Carroll McNeill that there's no mechanisms or obligations for paramedic staff to inform the ambulance regulator of previous criminal convictions. The Indo today, the front of the Irish Independent, obviously it is big on Cheltenham, the Irish on song on day 2, plus the top tips for today's, the banner across the top. Obviously a picture of Ronnie Delaney crossing the line in Melbourne for a gold medal. Iran war travel chaos. They're wondering if it is safe to book a flight to Australia. And the big headline story, front page story for the Independent today is a tough plan on immigration, says it has to benefit Ireland. In a clear move towards making a harder stance on immigration, this report to ministers has warned that the system going forward must be founded on respect for the social and cultural norms of Ireland, and it looks to set out how the state should approach it over the next decade after a period in which immigration has become a political flashpoint across the country and here in Tipperary. That's the papers then for today, and as I mentioned there at the top of the show, we have been joined here by Labour Councillor Michael Chicken Brennan. Good morning, Michael. How are you?
Morning, Don, and good morning to all your listeners.
Yeah, it's nice and windy out there. Didn't hit any fallen branches or anything as you travelled in?
No, nothing yet, but it's supposed to continue for another couple of hours, so hopefully the roads will stay safe and everyone will be okay.
Yeah, we hope so. So take care on the roads and watch out for those flying debris and branches and stuff. I did see one branch as I came in this morning, cartwheeling across the road in front of me like tumbleweed, but it wasn't particularly large, but the risk is there. So, Michael, look, you've come in. There's clear problems we're having in Ireland as a result of the war in Iran and everything else that went before in terms of cost of living. Tell us what you're thinking on the situation is at the moment.
Well, I suppose, look, everything has come up lately now since the war in Iran started and the increase in fuel prices and home heating oil have been triggered by the war in Iran. But like the ordinary people that are on the basic income wage have been suffering with this crisis for the last number of months because of the cost of living alone before these increases came in the last couple of days. And there's a lot of people living in the poverty line. There's a lot of people just below the poverty line, but there's a lot of people slightly above it as well. But as I said, there's a lot of people well below the poverty line and they are struggling. And they are struggling to keep their shopping. Like if you go into Tesco's or Dunn's or anything like that and just observe, sit in the car park, you will not see many people coming out with full baskets of shopping or trolleys or anything like that. People are just living day to day because that's the way they can only live. They can only manage what the money that they have to do. And like, you know, people, there's a lot of houses in arrears in energy bills, you know, and that's a big one because you're paying off so much off your arrears and you're trying to pay and keep on top of your electricity that you can keep it going. But your arrears constantly are building up and they're not getting off, you know, and it's the fear then that we say in the last couple of weeks with the heating oil, the petrol and the fuel at the pumps. And it puts fear in people, like, you know, and it makes people very worried. And now you're coming into the time of the year, confirmations, communions, the sports are starting back for all the children. They'll be taken to matches, training a couple of nights a week, and this is more pressure on parents again. And like, I mean to say, I thought, listening to Cllr Brennan the other night on the television, and he was saying, like, you know, that the government will act accordingly when they see this after St. Patrick's Day. Like, you know, the people can't wait. Some people might have to wait till after St. Patrick's Day to get money for the next week because the money for that week is gone, you know, and they could be without food on the table, heating their house and keeping the general running of a daily life right, like, you know. So, like, I think the government needs to act here, and like we would be calling on the government to act here and reinstate the fuel allowance, extend it if they have to people and get them through this crisis. And also, I think we need to look at the way the prices and the petrol and the diesel has gone up. Like, I was looking at diesel the other day in one station, it was 179. It went to 189, it went to 201, and yesterday it was 207. And, you know, and that's not pressure on the people working in there or that filling station. It's coming in from the distributors who's bringing in the oil into the countries and are taking advantage of this situation. But here again we're letting it happen, the government are letting it happen, and we're crippling the people on the ground who are suffering, and they are the most vulnerable people, and they are the ones, again, that take the hit.
Yeah, and we've seen it. It's hit everyone's pocket. Just the getting the tank filled to get to work these days. It's frightening. Every time you go into a filling station, the prices jumped 10, 15 cent, and we've been seeing that since early last week. And that's the first impact. You've obviously mentioned the prices of electricity, which haven't been hit yet, but we assume that they will be hit eventually in terms of the oil coming in and Ireland's exposure to gas. Even though we've been told many times, Michael, I'm sure you know that Ireland is a sort of a special case in terms of the energy markets because we're an island and we're completely dependent on imported fossil fuel, despite the amount of progress that's been made. Slow progress, we have to admit, in renewables, in wind and solar energy. The cost going up at the pumps. We've heard of staff in petrol stations getting abused, but as you say, this cost is being passed on by the distributors, and it's happened before their stocks should have been depleted.
Yeah, and this comes on to, and you look at, like, you just take small filling stations in rural towns. The capacity of diesel that or oil that or petrol or diesel that they'll sell during the week is kind of on a steady basis. They'll have their regular customers going in and they'll have that level and they get that maybe topped up every week or whatever. So I did see in the start of this that there was an increase of cars pulling up. People were filling, trying to get the best price and the whole lot. So that's passed on to them, and it's unfair for people to be going into these filling stations and having to go at the staff, because at the end of the day, there's still service workers. They're providing the oil and the diesel for us to get, and the increase is coming from the people who are making the money all the time out of it. And as we said, it's being passed down, and it's not the fault of the people that has the rural shop or the rural pumps and the whole lot, but it's the big buys again making the money and just taking advantage of a situation that is it's sad it's happened, that this war is happening, but also the situation that we're crippling the most vulnerable people here again, and it's one thing that we do very good in Ireland.
Yeah, the government has said they're going to have the CCPC investigating whether there's price gouging, but that's not really the job of the Commission there, is it? They can investigate monopolies and cartel behaviour, but they've no power to actually say, listen, you can't hedge your bets here and put up prices.
No, they don't. They're very limited.
So what should the government be doing?
Well, they're very limited in that, but what I do think they should do is that I think the first one, especially, like you look at the home heating aisle. If you got home heat last week and you paid only 500 for it, if you're getting it this week, you're paying 900. They should be able to put a cap on that, because the Taoiseach has admitted this week that we get most of our oil from the North Sea, and there's no supply disruption coming there. So the evidence is there that it is being inflicted on the people on the ground that are using the petrol and the diesel the most, and they are, as I said, the most vulnerable who are going to suffer, and it's going to continue. And the government here are very slow to take action on anything, and they're waiting to see, like as I said, Shea Brennan the other night, Pierce Doherty was putting the pressure on them that they need to act now, and waiting to see, and they'll act accordingly, and that's the kind of the phrase that this government has used all along in previous things as well, where we've seen conflicts as well.
Yeah, any idea what's the best way to impose these price caps? Can it be done for petrol and diesel and home heating oil? Like, how would it work, do you know?
Well, I suppose, look, I don't know how it will actually work as such, but like there should be like a basic cut-off that we can't go any higher. I think I think we do have a 90-day reserve if there was a supply disruption here, that we shouldn't be putting the increases in now, because we have a backup and we have a supply for, and the demand is there for it. But like, if there was to be a supply disruption of fuel and heating oil coming into Ireland, and then the government has to look and say, well, right, we'll have to ration it maybe or whatever, but we need to keep it at the prices that the people can work at, and I'd hope, like looking at the TV clip the other night, like looking back in the 70s when cars were queuing and they were pushing the cars to the pumps, like, I hope that this won't escalate, that we'll go back to them days and see that. But I suppose the biggest crunch again, and I suppose I'll just reiterate it again, is that it's the pressure is putting back on the people that are driving to work daily. Like one number of people I think about is, like, everyone has to go to work there to pay for their fuel and the whole lot. But imagine the carers that are on the road constant every day of the week now, and having to pay these fuel prices for a service that is being provided at the best of their ability to all their patients and the whole lot. And look what they have to suffer now this week with that increase, like, you know what I mean. But that's the thing about it, they'll get out and they'll do their work because they're committed people and they know what to do. But again, here we are hitting the people that work the hardest in this country.
Yeah, I suppose the other thing affecting everyone trying to get to work, aside from filling the tanks, is the damage done by the extreme weather that we're getting more and more often now due to climate change. I'm hearing yourself and other councillors bring it up at meetings across the county. The state of the roads after this intense rain. We haven't had that much snow and ice, but that's a factor as well. It's getting bad, Michael, isn't it?
It is done, and look, I suppose I'm dedicating this week and next week to roads, because I've been inundated by people in relation to roads, the condition of them. We come out and we fill potholes, they're gone again the day after, they're washed out. We're using the wrong mix. The tar and chip doesn't work because they get washed out. And I'm not blaming the outdoor staff here on this, because they're controlled by what they can do and the spend and the budget. And we hear all these words about constraints of budget and everything is a budgetary matter, like, and that's what we hear, like. But I suppose, like, I was only out yesterday in looking at a couple of roads out around Ballinure and Littleton down to that way, like, and in the municipal district of the Carrick-on-Shore area that I'm a councillor in, and like, they're in a horrendous state, like, and two ladies I spoke to like travel daily on these roads, like, and they're expected to drive their cars out on these roads, like, and it's just unacceptable to think that the roads are like this, like, you know. And like I do believe we should the council should take the bit by the teeth now, and like it's been mentioned a good few times at meetings that we should actually take a loan out and get our roads in shape and order, you know, because people are travelling daily on them. The cars are getting wrecked. My own car last week, I broke down coming back from the Northern Ireland there last week, and it went into the garage. I had a ball joint gone, I had a tie rod gone, I had an airbag gone, and everything was gone on the one side. Now, and I'm going to just bring to your attention as well, and you were at our municipal meeting last Thursday when I mentioned the state of the road, which is the R689 Killinall to Fethard Road. Now, it's a busy regional road, and last August, September, Irish Water started laying a new water main pipe that's bringing water into our own town of Killinall, which we're very happy to have, and have to have a good supply coming, like, you know, and it's part of the infrastructure that needs to be done. And this water will be distributed further on to the likes of Ballinunty, Glengool, Gurtnahoe, Dualla. So it is essential that these works happen. But the condition of this road, from the first week that they worked in the lane of the pipe on this road, at Coolbarn Cross, which is a road that takes people to Drangan, my glass and the whole lot. And as I said, a lot of traffic on this road. Two to three bubbles appeared on the road when they laid the pipe. And within the first week, loads of people had rang me and brought it to my attention in relation to that. Like, there's somebody going to have an accident there. If a motorbike hits them at speed or anything like that, they'll get toppled. And as the works commenced on in this weather, and they did work under inclement weather conditions and the whole lot, but as they worked on further in towards the town with this road deteriorated big time. The camber of the road, they were digging holes to giant connection pipes and the whole lot. They were filling them back in. Within a week, they were sunken. There was big divots in them, and I measured one or two of them. Like, one was 9 inches of a divot in the dip of the road, the camber. But like, people are daily travelling on this. They're paying their taxes. They expect good roads to be reinstated when works are commenced. Now, I brought it up last week at the meeting to know was there going to be a full road resurface on this road, and we were told no, that they will go back and they do a reinstatement of works. Now, they've gone back and they've done some reinstatements in some places, and they have gone just as bad as what they are. But this road is not safe. I've had tractor drivers coming that draw on this road with high loads of straw and hay, and are very worried about driving on the road with them because of the way the roads can rock from side to side. I've had truck drivers complaining about it, and I have car users and the motorcycles, bikes as well. Like, everyone is driving kind of one side of the right line to avoid hitting all these dips and divots. And as I said, I've highlighted it. I'm out this week on the roads. If there's anybody who wants to contact me with a road that they're worried about in their area, please let me know. But I'm very lucky that in all the complaints I've gotten that road, that there hasn't been an accident, because we haven't taken action by the Tipperary County Council, and I'm hoping that Tipperary County Council will put this road back into a safe manner for people to travel on when the works, which are completed on the road now, but has to be done.
The reinstatement takes a bit of time.
Yeah.
Now, they do it in stages, and the quality is questionable in a lot of cases. I know from talking to yourselves and yourself and many other councillors. I suppose a lot of the time the tab has to be picked up then by the council. And you'd mentioned this just a moment ago. Central government isn't giving extra funds for the extra work they have to do because of all this extra intense extreme weather, but you reckon that the council needs to finance it itself?
I think the council need to finance it themselves, because as you know, Donald, I only became a first time councillor in 24 in the June elections, and from what I understand and I gather, and from the budgets and the whole lot, that what Tipperary County Council were getting in roads in the budget that we have to work on in 23 and 22, 23 and 24 is still the same today in 25 and 26. Now, you look at inflation has gone up and everything, and we're not getting the same value for the money as what the spend is to do the job. So
30% less before even this current crisis
as well, like, you know, and even there was a statement made yesterday that County Council are going to look at, if the fuel prices increase, that there'll be services cut again, like, you know, and I don't think we can cut any more services, like, you know, because we are working on minimum kind of a scale of work within the budget. And again, like, we'll hear all the words about the constraints of budget and this and that, which are getting very familiar now when you're talking about getting something done. But going back to what you said there originally, originally that I think that the government or the council will have to take the bull by the horns here and look for a loan, because we're not alone that. We also have housing estates that are in horrendous states, and I'm going back housing estates. I look at St Patrick's Place in Fethard, I look at Cashel Road in Kinnon. There's many more. There's Grange Mokler, and other councils have loads of lists of housing estates as well. We have footpaths that are in a horrendous state as well, and there's no money being made available to do these. And it was mentioned last week at the meeting that the housing estates might come in under the road programmes work for the next 3 years, and if that happens, then roads are going to lose out. So it's a no-brainer for me that the council need to take a loan out and get these roads and get these housing estates and everything back into shape, because people are just annoyed, angry. They can't understand it that, you know, the high volume of traffic like take St Patrick's Place that goes through St Patrick's Place, because it's great to see the success of the town park, but it has brought an extra load of traffic into the area, and the residents are just shocked to think that there has nothing been done with it. And, you know, we will be pushing hard for to get something done, but we can't wait another year for this to happen, or neither can any other village or town.
Yeah. We're coming up against an ad break here, Councillor, but I know you were at the bid meeting in Clonmel earlier this week. Tell me what you made of the prospect at this stage. Are the town and the ratepayers behind it?
Yeah, look, I was delighted to attend the bid meeting. Now, I had a prior meeting, so I was late getting in, but I got in for the last good 3/4 of an hour of it, and there was a nice attendance there. It wasn't as big as what was there for the first attendance of the meeting, but for me, I had mixed views of the meeting then, because they gave different propositions of things that people would like to see happen in the town, and there was different titlements of what should happen and what people wanted. So there was questionnaires on each. There was a person that designated each table. He was filling out the signs, and the group were chatting at each of these individual slides that were shown on the screen. And at the end then, it was what the one person from that table was given a chance to speak on what they saw. So I suppose for me, the biggest thing that came out of it was on the meeting was that the safety on the streets, that was number one. That was number one, that Clonmel has to be made safe. Like, we all know Clonmel isn't safe. It's not a safe town. There's too much going on. There's a lot of drug dealing, drug addiction, and anti-social behaviour, the whole lot. And it has been going on for a number of years. And, like, again, we're going to go back here to the lack of guard, the presence, and the whole lot. And there is. And that's why the town is the way it is. But
so that's not really an issue for the bid company.
It's not an issue for the bid company, but
the focus will be elsewhere.
But there's an element of there's an app in the bid company that will look at antisocial behaviour, and they can log it and they can trace it and this and that, and it'll go to the guards. But if there's not a guard in the station to come to the street to deal with it, we're going to have the same problem. So that was the main topic that came out of every table. Signage was another one that came, like, to show the town up with signage of the good things that are in it and where to go and the whole lot. And again, the dereliction and the whole lot, like, you know, like, even if you look at today, Donald, and this vote will take place in June, and they have to get 51%, like, you know, and like, if they don't try it, Clonmel will stay the way it is and get worse. If they do try it and try and make it better and it works, it'll be great. But, like, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a lot of hard work. The dereliction is going to be there. And I also said as well now, not at the meeting, but the landscape of the town and the approach roads coming in has to be looked at as well. On the Fethard Road coming into town, the Cllr Road, the Cashel Road, we have the Waterford Road. All the landscape of them have to come in and make our town look as a warm and welcoming town as we enter into our towns. It's going to be difficult. I'd like to see that it would work, but as I said, the biggest one for me is working and making the streets safe for the moment, because it has to be safe for the people coming into the town. And if it's not made safe, I don't think bids will work in the town of Clonmel.
Fair enough, Michael. Thanks very much for joining us this morning here in studio. Like I said, we do have an ad break to take, but we will be back very shortly after this.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puck On. See slatterysgarage.ie.